don't think there's supposed to be any more verbiage. As I understand the request of the mayor, this is just for the legislative body to go on record, the county commission to go on record with the Knox County delegation that you're asking for this relief. It does not define very narrowly what the relief is. It's just saying that you'd like to have this special legislation to give you this tool. So there's some flexibility in it. And if the commission's concerned about that, we certainly can tighten up the wording to specify exactly what it is you're asking. Or this just really gets the ball rolling, because as most of you have read in the newspaper, I think Senator Burchett and some others stated from the Knox County delegation that they were hesitant to introduce anything until the county commission spoke. They wanted to defer to your good judgment on it. So I think that was the genesis of this request, and the mayor may want to speak to this. But the delegation serves you, tries to serve this body, and has great respect to this body. So until this commission acts to say you want them to try to pass this bill, they probably aren't going to try to pass it.
All right. I think that answers my question. There's nothing other than this one paragraph resolution that we're going to send to Nashville.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Commissioner Trammell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Gilbert, what is the name of your law firm?
I'm employed by Kennerly, Montgomery, and Finley, 550 Main Street, Knoxville, Tennessee.
And, Mr. Mayor, did you speak to the law director about this before going to Nashville?
The law director was at my press conference when we announced that I was going to Nashville.
Okay. Did he give you any guidance on the legalities of this?
We discussed it, and we also talked when I was in Nashville.
Okay.
Commissioner Lambert. Yeah. My concern about this is the reason why this trip to Nashville came about, this request for a special election came about. Now, I was for special elections. I felt like that would have been a much better way to replace these term-limited folks. But unfortunately, the decision of the Supreme Court was not, my opinion. They said we should have appointments, and we did. And, this whole situation just reminds me of when my nephew was a little boy. And we were playing games like Candyland and Monopoly and things like that. Well, my nephew would spin the wheel, or he would roll the dice, and he would get something that he didn't want. The dice wouldn't come out the way he wanted. The spin wouldn't turn out the way he wanted. And he wanted a do-over. Well, it sounds to me like there's certain parties who stood up and said it's a good day in Knox County. It's a great day that term limits are being upheld. We're going to have these appointments. We're going to replace these folks. It sounds like, the mayor really stepped up and thought it was a great thing that we were going to have the appointments. Then he rolled the dice, and he didn't get his choices on this commission. And now he's asking for a do-over. Mayor, you're not 4 years old. We're not playing Candyland. I think that what you need to do is reach out to those of us on commission. There's some fine folks up here, and work with what you got rather than asking for a do-over and continuing to stir this pot and keeping this county in political turmoil.
Well, Mr. Lambert, with all due respect, I've never called you out individually, but I'm going to right now. That escapade you pulled with Mr. Wimmer in the back room is one reason why people want a do-over, as you call it.
Just to answer that, there was no back room involved. Any conversation I had with Mr. Wimmer was out in the middle of the press and everything else. If that wasn't sunshined, I don't know what is.
I don't think most of our citizens concur with your assessment of that. But I haven't been critical of any of the appointees, nor will I be. I do think, however, our public would like the opportunity to vote on that, and that's all I'm saying. I'm not going to go around the room and pick out individuals to call on, including you, until you did it with me. But if you don't think that our citizens want to vote on this earlier, vote no. If you think they would like to, vote yes. That's what we're saying. I'm not asking, you've never heard me say, let's do this over. I'm just saying, let our citizens vote. Now, what the lawsuits, when those come down, those will be things that may impact it, but I haven't brought that up.
Why didn't we let them vote in the first place? Because the Supreme Court was very clear on how these folks were to be replaced. We fulfilled the law. We did our duty, and now I think we need to live with their decision. We need to quit this bickering amongst each other. We need to get together somewhere and sit down and talk like human beings and find a way to work with each other instead of continuously stirring this up. I'm very confident, I feel very certain that if there were different folks on this commission, especially in certain seats, that there would be no call for special elections. I believe that if there were certain folks on this commission and if certain folks on this commission, that none of this stuff would be brought up. We would be pulling together. You'd be wanting to work with folks. I believe that this is a political ploy because certain folks got on this commission that you didn't approve of. And I think that it's time that we quit playing these political football games and we settle down and we do the people's business.
With all due respect, you're completely wrong.
Okay. Commissioner Pinkston.
Yes, this is answering to Mr. Harmon over there. We have a...
Which one?
Mark. We have a representative form of government. So I feel like the people are involved in everything we do here. They've elected us. Now, and Commissioner Ballard here, I want to answer this. I make no votes up here on the pretext of trying to be elected. I don't care whether I'm politically correct or not. I make the votes that I think are the best for Knox County. And if people, don't, like I say, don't want me, they don't have to vote me in. And I think everybody up here should make their votes like that. It's what's best for Knox County. But, Mr. Harmon, you're talking about the cost of this election and what percentage it is and all that. The people voted in the sheriff's pension plan. Mr. Harmon, I'm going to go back to what my grandfather told me years ago. If you watch your pennies, the dollars will watch their steps. Now, I don't live high, and I don't live on credit. And that's what we're trying to do here in Knox County. And everything we spend up here, the taxpayers' money that's spent foolish, costs them down the line. And I just want to say this. We're not cutting the people out. Everybody keeps hollering about election. Are we not going to have an election? Who here says we're denying the people an election? We're not denying them an election. We're going to have an election. It's just going to be a few months away. So I don't know what we're even talking about special elections for. I'm not cutting the people out. I'm not up here voting against this general election that we've got coming up for the presidential primary. I want the people to vote then. Only thing I'm saying is we should not have a special election because it's not in the Constitution or the Charter of Knox County. Now, if we're going to go to Nashville every time we have a hard vote, or we're going to go out here and talk to the public, we don't need to be sitting up here in these seats if we can't make these hard decisions. That's what we're here for, is to make them. And if the people don't like it, they've got to check and balance there, vote us out of office. But we're here to make these decisions, and that's what we need to do. And I'm against the special election, and I'll say it again. We've got an election. I'm not cutting the people out. They have the right to vote when the election's held like the Constitution and like the Supreme Court says.
Thank you. Commissioner Craig Luto.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bud, could you answer a question for me?
I'll try, Commissioner.
Have you already presented these questions to the State Attorney General?
Senator Burchett's opinion was delivered on February the 14th.
And when do you expect a response?
That's hard to say with the AG's office. I know they think this is a very important issue. I talked with the attorney who is answering the question last week, but they could give me no assurance when. They were aware of your meeting today.
Okay. That would take care of the constitutionality as far as the state constitution. Where are we supposed to get the answer of whether or not we get over our charter?
Oh, I think that's, I would defer to your good county attorney, my county attorney too. I think that's a precedent in the law. General laws can override charters. The charter that the people of Knox County adopted has always been subject to the general law of the state.
So we would need, in order to do this, we would have to get a ruling from the State Attorney General in order to proceed on as far as on the state level.
Technically, you don't have to have that, but probably to pass it.
Well, I would hate to hold an election that then became void because someone brought up another lawsuit that says we didn't hold a legal election, okay?
And you're astute. I mean, someone could challenge that. I mean, we can't.
So we would want to make sure, if we did this, we were within the Constitution of the state of Tennessee.
And on square footing.
Yes. But we'd also